Before we start this off, I need to know how you feel about animals. Personally, I love animals. Well, no doy, my profile is a cat. Today, we're not just going to be talking about animals, but a huge issue for a lot of people. If you have not heard, one of the most famous squirrels in the world passed away. Their name was Peanut the squirrel. I did release a YouTube short talking about the situation, and the reason I spun the block and came back is because this situation got 10 times worse. So you have probably heard that unrightfully Peanut the squirrel was taken away from us because of animal control seizing this person's home, but the raccoon you're seeing on the screen was also taken away from us. To give you a very short version of the story, the New York authorities were tipped off by a no-life loser. This no-life loser was upset that these animals were being taken care of properly, but that they didn't have the proper paperwork, which, in my opinion, shouldn't matter and shouldn't actually equal the death of these animals. These animals were removed from their homes, and the owners were told that these animals had rabies, which apparently they did not. But long story short, this led to the, unlawful killing of these two animals by the New York authorities. And in my personal opinion, that should not be a thing that ever happens, because even if they didn't have the proper documentation to own these animals, they could have been taken to an animal sanctuary. Just gonna slip this in here. These two actually own an animal sanctuary. But believe me when I tell you that this story went way more viral than people would have ever expected. It has gotten to the point when I was researching for this video, I found articles saying that Kamala Harris and Trump were actually so enraged by the situation. I didn't read those articles yet, I only saw the headlines, but let's just assume this for a second. Do you know how big a story has to be for the presidential candidates to hear about it? But basically, this has put the New York authorities in a hot seat. In the last couple of days, they have become the most hated thing in the entire universe. So right now, I'm just gonna insert my like and subscribe thing right here, and then we're gonna go into some of the clips about the situation, because it is honestly heartbreaking to hear these people talk about it. And honestly, it's easy to understand why people are worked up about this. Like and subscribe. It's free.
Hi, everyone. I don't know how I'm going to say this. I just want to say thank you to all of you. Peanut was the best thing that ever happened to us. And we got confirmation that they put him down. I want to continue to fight this fight as much as I can, but we need all of you to come together and help us. Please continue to help us raise money for the ongoing legal battles and for our nonprofit so we can keep Peanut's name alive. Thank you all.
Believe it or not, I've already heard some of the worst takes known to men from people who just want to be different. But the fact of the matter is, this complaint, in my opinion, had literally no fair ground to stand on, and you can argue, oh, they didn't have documents. The animals were being taken care of. They were domesticated. They were being properly fed. The animals looked like they were very plump, so there is no argument that they didn't have food at all. Both Peanut and the raccoon looked to be having fun, and people have pet squirrels and pet raccoons all the time. These animals were constantly around other animals. If they had rabies, then certainly every other animal that they own would probably have rabies. A normal squirrel is only going to live 6 years. A domesticated squirrel can have a lifespan of up to 20. And it is the same thing for the raccoon. A raccoon can live up to 20 years if it's domesticated. In the wild, raccoons only live from 1 to 3 years. At this current moment in time, there is not one thing you can tell me that would make me believe that these two are bad animal owners, because they seem like awesome people.
We just learned that they have euthanized Peanut.
And the raccoon as well.
And the raccoon as well. I am so sorry. This must be really difficult for you.
It not only tears my family apart, but Peanut was the cornerstone of our nonprofit animal rescue. And 10 to 12 DEC officers raided my house as if I was a drug dealer. I was sat outside my house for 5 hours. I had to get a police escort to my bathroom. I wasn't even allowed to feed my rescue horses breakfast or lunch. I was sat there like a criminal after they interrogated my wife to check out her immigration status, then proceeded to ask me if I had cameras in my house, then proceeded to go through every cabinet, nook, and cranny of my house for a squirrel and a raccoon.
They got a search warrant?
They got a search warrant. 4 departments and a judge signed off on a search warrant for a squirrel and a raccoon. And then they took them and killed them.
Why did they go through all that to get a search warrant for an animal that had been with you very safely, and the world witnessed this for 7 years. Why now suddenly did they show up with a search warrant and take these animals?
Allow me to point something out that a lot of people probably missed during this TMZ interview. They said right here that these people have had this squirrel and this raccoon for over 7 years. For the raccoon alone, that is more than double its average lifespan. Both of these animals have lived past their natural lifespan due to being domesticated and taken care of properly. And to hear that New York courts and judges had to sign off on this just makes my blood boil. Because in my day-to-day life, I've had legitimate problems with the government and animal control. I've been in a situation where me and my neighbors were trying to report that someone left their dog out for over 5 hours on the street. 2 large and aggressive pit bulls. And at the time, I had a kitten. We tried reporting these 2 large dogs that were aggressive that the owner just decided to neglect. I don't want to give out too many details about this situation, but long story short, we were still training a kitten who we decided to keep. But through unfortunate circumstances, my kitten and that dog met. And now I don't have a kitten. And to hear that animal control or New York authorities, personally, I don't even give a shit who the fuck it is. They're just scum of the earth to me. Deciding to put down 2 well kept for animals for literally no reason just makes my blood boil. And hopefully it makes your blood boil, because I don't want to hear anything about an animal that lost their life unjustly. And what's even worse is that government figures were evil enough to sign off on it.
We haven't a clue. We don't know who made the complaints. Again, Peanut was an indoor squirrel, not harming anybody. He's been with us for 7 years. Not a single complaint was ever filed for this animal. We had him for 7.5 years. He became the world's most famous squirrel. We weren't hiding him by any means. He was all over TikTok. He became the first squirrel on TikTok to ever hit 1 million followers. He did every news station around the world. He's helped people. He's helped kids gather joy. And then we started a nonprofit animal rescue called Peanut's Freedom Farm to help animals like Peanut fight a good fight when they're in a neglected case or they're sitting in a slaughter auction. And he was the cornerstone of our life and our organization. We used his platform to help raise money for the 300 animals we have at our sanctuary.
Personally, I will never understand how people can look at this situation and think, yup, that's deserved. Because trust me, there are those people. And just to hear that Peanut was actually helping other animals, get a good fight, just makes this so much more heartbreaking. I can only really imagine how far this will go. Maybe it might find its way onto 4chan. Somehow they'll find the person who complained and exactly who signed off on these papers. But to whoever made this anonymous complaint, I wonder how you actually live with yourself after this situation. How do you feel knowing that 2 animals were taken away from their loving home and put down? And that the backbone to an entire organization to help other animals get their freedom were put down. I don't understand, I will never understand, and hopefully I never will understand how someone can be that miserable that you see something in a loving home and decide to take it away. I'm sorry that I've been ending so many videos on sad notes lately, but rest in peace to the family and to the 2 animals that we've lost. I'll see you all in the next one. Rest in peace. Later.